When he looked back on that day, all he could feel was regret. And with these words, I welcome you to this lore stream, everybody! Hello, how you guys doing? I'm a bit late, I'm sorry! I'm sorry. I'm late. But it doesn't stop us from talking about reading out my lore today. I'm very, very excited for today. A bit late, super late. It's 15 minutes, Akito. Come on. This was my first time editing a book. So I tried to make it all fancy, so I'm just late because I was like not liking how everything looked, and I was just like, no, I wanna do it better. I don't like it. So if anything is weird and if I missed anything, I'm sorry. So let me pull that up. I tried to make it look fancy. So I hope you appreciate the effort. I have epic music with me. But how are you guys doing? I hope I didn't let you wait too long. I mean, I did, but you know. Let me check. Does it look good? Looks good. Looks good. There are weird pages where there's nothing. I'm already late. I didn't have time to fix it. Okay. So let me. There we go! Wait, you guys shouldn't read. Oh shit. Not looking, no cheating. Hasn't started yet. That looks different today. Is the music alright? Is it too loud? Am I talking? Because today my words are very important. I'm so giddy to share this with you. I love you too, Kamini! Go, Lord! Just dealing with the headache again, but I'm crazy psyched to be here. Oh, thank you! So, you guys can send your expectation in here. If anything you guys think, want to say, anything, really. If you have any, what are you saying? If you have any reaction, just post it in the chat. Alright. Then I won't keep you guys waiting anymore. And move out of the way. Ooh. I don't move out of the way. I move the text away. That's also good. Don't mess it up. Ah! Stop it! I wanna go. There we go. Okay, I move to the side. So let's go a bit. Oh no. Let's go a bit closer. I think everyone can read well now. I mean, I'm a bit in the way, aren't I? Can I zoom out a little? Yeah. Is this good? Should I be a little bit more? There we go! Okay! The first chapter. The beginning of this hour. When he looked back to that day, all he could feel was regret. Everything had happened so quickly, and yet he felt like he missed something. Something big, something important. When everything shut down, all of a sudden, and he was running out of collapsing buildings, the whole world had seemed to be falling apart. Dead bodies were laying on the ground where employees used to rush up and from work, where friends used to meet up to eat, where couples used to meet up to love, where families used to meet up to play. All of those areas were covered in corpses, and Kiru could only stand there, not able to believe what had just happened. It was the worst day of his life. He could still feel the headache that the chip in his head had caused him, all his senses just overwhelmed by all the death. It seemed like his mind was logging out for a minute, making him fall to his knees, only able to watch his world burn. It was only when Ellie arrived, taking his hand and pulling him someplace he didn't know, that his mind returned back to reality. Am I reading the right right chapter. I'm scared. Huh? That would be funny if I just spoiled you. I do have the alternative version that doesn't look pretty. That would be so sad. Ah, am I correct? Don't mind me, just checking. No, it's all good. It's all good. Okay. Whew. I got scared there for a second. You read your own writing and you were like, am I spoiling? Is this correct? Okay. Where was it? It was only when Elric arrived, taking his hand and pulling him someplace he didn't know, that his mind returned back to reality. Elric was the only one of his friends he had been able to track down ever since the day where everything broke down. Even before that day, a lot of his remaining friends had either moved away or were busy with work, so the only way we were able to meet up was via virtual reality. The only exception being Elric. Hero saw him basically every day. He was the one who met up with him during break time at work. He was the one who would invite himself in even when no one asked him to. It almost felt like Elric had already moved in with him without needing permission. Hero was thankful that Elric always took care of him, but he always felt a little unfair. Elric was giving him so much, and Hero felt like he was only taking and taking without giving anything back. So when Elric held Hero's head up, making him look into his eyes to take his gaze away from all the destruction around them, making him look at only Elric, he felt safe. Eric's familiar eyes made him feel a sense of protection and safety. Hero couldn't help but break down in his arms. Now all of that was in the past. All of that had happened 4 years ago. It has already been 4 years since Hero lost everything he was familiar with, everything he had ever known, and his whole life turned upside down. He didn't know where Elric was right now, but he knew the place he himself was sitting at the moment. It was a garage where he and all of his friends used to hang out, where they had danced together and created music together, and where they lived out their teenage dream of being a band. Hero had always loved music, but he knew there was no way he would ever become successful through it. Right from the start, the school exam had told him how he should work as a system operator, so he simply followed recommendations without questioning it. But those old times where it was just him, his friends and music, those were some of the best moments of his entire life. Sitting on the retro brown leather couch, he remembered how Elric has begged them to buy that one. It was old and should have been destroyed with the start of a new sofa generation. But Elric didn't want a new one. He loved its rustic look and he wondered how much history it had. Hiro was always amazed at how Elric would see the greatest things in the most unnecessary and worn down items. But the sofa was comfortable, so it fulfilled its one and only purpose. He didn't realize how long he had been sitting there, reminiscing about the old times and the memories which were far, far in the past. He found it funny how he could spend his whole life not worrying about a thing, only for everything to break down one day, leaving him to fend for his own survival. It was quiet in the room until the sound of footsteps broke the silence. He thought it could be Elric coming back, but as he looked up, his eyes were met by an unknown man. He was dressed in all black, a black coat, black fedora, black mask. His outfit was covered in chains. Their purpose unknown to Hiro. The man came closer with every step he took, while Hiro could only straighten his posture. He wasn't sure what was going to happen. He was about to get robbed? Would he get beaten up? Was the man here to kill him without a reason? Where did he even come from? His mind was running in overdrive, not knowing what the other man wanted from him. He started overthinking when the man with the black fedora raised his arm, a beautiful hourglass in his hand. The frame of the hourglass was made of gold. The sand trapped inside of the glass almost looked like it was floating. The gold barely touched him. No one made those things anymore. The only time he had ever seen some of these was in historical museums. Hiro couldn't believe his eyes when he noticed the hourglass was glowing. His eyes were glued to the item for so long that he almost forgot about the man with the black fedora still standing there. Being a potential threat, even with his current knowledge, he didn't know what to do next. Then the man started to speak. You lost your dream. Not because of the rough reality you're in, but because you guys decided to lose it. Abandon the idea that the world which you see is everything. There are countless dimensions and realities in this world. The world I am in, the world you are in, they are all real. I would like to tell you everything, but I don't have much time right now. He noticed that the voice the man spoke with sounded so familiar, but also completely unknown at the same time. He thought he knew that voice, as if he heard it every day, and yet he couldn't pinpoint it. Kira just continued to look at him, an endless amount of questions running through his mind. What did he mean when he said that they had decided to give up their dream? Which dream was he talking about? What did he mean by multiple words? The one question remained, running through his mind louder than any of the others. What is this? He asked, pointing at the shiny hourglass. This is the chroma, the key to connecting worlds. Hiro had finally gathered the courage to stand up, standing right in front of the man. He looked into his eyes before the shining hourglass caught his attention. This little hourglass was the key to connecting worlds? Did that mean he could save his reality? He carefully picked up the chroma, uncertain eyes constantly searching for any sign of potential danger in the other man. As soon as he had the chroma in his hands, the man backed up a couple steps. Follow your heart, the map is right there. Hiro looked at the chroma one last time, and when his eyes looked back up, the man with the black fedora was already gone. Within another blink of his eyes, he was back on this old sofa, and in the end, it was all just a dream. He must have fallen asleep in a hideout, waiting for Ellery. Or maybe he wasn't even waiting for Ellery, rather hoping that no one would search for him. He stretched his body, preparing himself for another chilling day, before his gaze came to a halt at the shiny hourglass he had just seen in his dream standing on the table. His brows furrowed in confusion as he walked closer to the hourglass, which definitely wasn't there when he fell asleep. Maybe it was just a dream after all, but he was confused about what just had happened. He didn't know what to do with it, so he mindlessly turned it around, the sand floating back from the bottom to the top. All the things around him has also started to float up from the bottom to the top, just like the sand, except for him. He just stood there looking at his surroundings in confusion. Then he heard the metal door open. He saw all the familiar faces with the same puzzled expression. But it didn't matter. He hadn't seen his friends in so long. He thought they were dead, or worse. They all gathered around him, and he could almost feel his eyes well up with tears. Alec with his soft rose hair. He looked fine, he was healthy, had lost some weight. All of them did. Terry may have lost his fancy and clean clothes, but he still looked like the prince all of them knew. Noor with his soft platinum blonde hair. It's been ages since Kiro had last seen him. He could remember the sad expression on his face when he was told he had to move away so vividly. But Rune seemed off. Not because he looked weird, because he looked perfectly fine. He looked like he wasn't part of the apocalyptic world they were living in at all. As if he was still residing in the beautiful city Kiro missed so much. He wondered where Damiano had been. He looked fine, his black hair tied up in a small ponytail. A headband kept keeping the hair out of his face. He looked healthy. Kiro wondered if he had a good shelter or a group to stay with. And there was Edward, looking strong as always. The last time he had seen him in real life was when he got freshly injured, so he was really happy to see that he was safe. Then there was Elric, the male that stood by his side and never left him alone. He was so happy to see him, even though it was something he used to, but just seeing him with all the others made him smile. That's all he knew. That's all he needed. He knew he could survive as long as them were together. He was just happy to see them all safe and sound. Without thinking, he reached out to Elric to hug him, to tell him they finally made it, they finally found everyone. Within one blink of his eyes, he was back to the day he never wanted to go back to. His arms were working on autopilot, fixing up another set of programs to check if the system had any new updates. When his mind realized what was happening, he tore his hands away from the computer. He was blinking rapidly, looking around his familiar working place. He didn't know what had just happened. He wasn't used to this environment anymore. even though he had spent 3 years of his life working there. He was frantically touching his face and his body, making sure he wasn't dead. That his body was here, and he was here. It all felt so surreal, as if he had just died. He couldn't believe what had just happened. He was just falling a couple of seconds ago. The chroma which had potentially caused all of this was standing on the desk right next to him. Before he could question it further, he took the chroma again and ran towards the AI. He had to save the AI at all costs, but he didn't know that it was already too late.
Thank you, Lottie!
He ran through the hallway of the center of the AI, just to see a man standing there. He had never seen him before, and he knew for sure that this man was not allowed to be here. He was dressed in a white suit, a white fabric covering his entire face, and the fabric additionally covered in silver chain. He just stood there for a while, staring at the floor before Kiro yelled out towards him, asking what he was doing there. The man in white hadn't noticed him before, and as soon as he made eye contact with Kiro, he just ran away. Kiro started to chase him. He ran after him, following through the seemingly endless hallways. But Kiro knew this place better than anyone else. He was in charge of it all, and he knew all the shortcuts. When Kiro ran around the corner, he thought he would have cornered the unknown man, but instead the man was just gone, without a trace. No trace except for an ancient-looking book. It seemed so similar to the chroma that the man in the black fedora had given him, but there was no time. He picked up the book and was about to run back to the AI, but before he arrived, he heard the familiar alarms again. They were just as loud as they were the first time. He was back here, and yet he couldn't stop it once again. He still wasn't able to stop the world from dying. He wanted to run back to the AI. Either way, just trying to save what could be saved. But fear got the better of him, and he ran outside. His fear carrying him outside just like they did last time. He wasn't ready to see it again. He wasn't ready to see his beloved world burn one more time. Why wasn't he able to save them? Why was he here again without being able to change anything? He kept his eyes closed when he was in front of the door again. He wouldn't survive going through all of this another time. What Kiro didn't notice were the unfamiliar eyes that had followed his every move ever since he had returned to his workplace. He didn't know what he had additionally unleashed that day. And here we go. And this was the first chapter of my lore, everyone. What do you guys think happened? It's been 4 years ago. How did the world die like this? Hey guys, sounds so epic! Yay, thank you! Nah. I'm just glad the text was fine. Such suspense! Yes! We have introduced the first character, Hiro. I'm shook it. Yo, cute. Thank you. But, you know, I'm very hyped to share this. This is a very short chapter. Back then, when I first started writing this, I'm very interested in seeing more. I talk more, but the headache is real. I need to take things slow. Yeah, don't worry. Take your time. Then the music makes it so suspenseful and I love it. Thank you. I was scared it was a bit too dramatic. Just a little, but it also just kind of goes with it. It'd be cool if I could time it and have like normal music and then drama. I must know more. I know that feeling. But as I was saying, it's perfect. Oh, thank you. But as I wanted to say, when I first started writing, the chapters were a lot shorter. And as I said, I haven't said it in the beginning, but I wasn't the only one that wrote the story. So I think I wrote this chapter. The next chapter was written by Sunni, and we always went like, I write chapter 1, she wrote chapter 2, I wrote chapter 3. and so on. So, and we ended up just hyping up each other to be like, I want to write more than you. And she was like, no, I'm gonna write more. And this is that's why it's such a short chapter, and will get longer and longer. But I was thinking, I can't just give you this. It's just a small teaser. So I went out of my way and prepared the second chapter oral as well. Let's not. The intrusion of daily life. Are you excited to get more? I don't know if I said that it's just gonna be chapter 1. Then I said I need to reach a set amount of... How do I say subscribers? And followers, was it? On Twitter. So I thought, since you also had to wait a little bit, it's been a while. I'm almost at 400 at this point, like at half of it. So I was like, maybe I should prepare more. Maybe it's a bit unfair. So yeah, you guys can have the second chapter as well. So let's go right into it. Intrusion of daily life. Hiro still had his eyes closed as he took a deep breath, trying to gather the courage to open the door. As much as he was bracing himself for what he was about to witness, he still was not prepared when he finally opened the door. The siren was still blaring even louder than before, but now the sound was mixed with people's horrified screams outside on the streets all around him. Even with his eyes closed, the world around Hiro was still spinning. He knew what was going on. He could see it before his closed eyes. He had already gone through this once before, but he still was afraid to open his eyes. He wanted to throw up. The sounds got drowned out slowly by the crushing pain he felt on the side of his head. It felt like a bullet was slowly piercing its way into his skull. The shock of the sudden headache forced Hiro to open his eyes rapidly. The first thing he noticed was the bright light of the sun shining onto the city. It felt like the world around him was slowly slowing down as he heard his heart beating louder and louder in his ears. All the sounds around him were muffled out, except for his own heartbeat and breath. He saw the immense destruction right in front of him, and as much as he did not want to witness it again, he simply couldn't look away. He saw people panicking around him. He saw families desperately calling out of their loved ones who were dying right in front of them. He saw the confusion, the panic and the pain they were going through. But he could not help them. He had failed. He could have saved both them and himself from this pain, but he had failed. He clasped the hourglass tighter in his hands. He could feel the frustration and anger growing inside of him. He was mad at himself, mad at the world, at the eye and the white man in white. The pain in his head returned, and he could feel his eyes welling up with tears. He wanted to scream out in frustration, but before he could do so, he felt a hand grabbing his wrist, pulling him away from the sea. It was Elric. Elric was pulling him away again, just like everything else. This had also happened before. It happened the first time and it was happening again. Elric was following the exact same route as he did the first time. They were passing the same people, the same buildings, the same places, the same everything. Here saw the buildings collapsing all over again. The world around them was slowly fading into a colorless place. With an illusion of the virtual reality disappearing, the city lost its beauty. For the first time, humanity was waking up to the real world. They were forced to see a world as it was. They saw how the world looked no different from a video game world without textures. The trains, which usually glowed in beautiful various neon colors, as well as the metallic surface everyone knew so well, in reality they were all just empty white displays. The building, which had so many different and beautiful designs, had lost their color, leaving the city behind in completely white, grey and black tones. No more vibrant colors, no water fountains, even the grass was a white landscape of nothingness. Their vision had been betrayed for such an endless amount of time. Seeing what was actually left of their reality was a shock to everyone. The fake world started to burn without the AI. The trains were derailing, going off their tracks and crashing into buildings, onto the street, running over innocent bystanders. The systems were all overheating, setting whole parts of the city on fire, and it didn't make sense. It shouldn't have been like this. Even without the AI, it didn't make sense that technology would destroy itself even further. Why didn't it just stop working? And that was it. Why didn't it just all shut down? Why did it have to be so merciless? Without Kiro even realizing, they were outside of the city once again. They were walking further away from the city with every step they took, buildings slowly bending into the background. He could feel his headache becoming less painful. The further away they got from the city, the further they got away from the city. He knew that for now, he did not have to witness any more disturbing scenes. He pulled his hand away from Alaric's grasp to press the book to his chest. This was important. This was an object he did not have last time. Eric stopped walking for a moment, giving Kiro a concerned look. I'm alright. We'll arrive at the place soon, right? Eric's eyes went back and forth between Kiro's face and the book he held in his hands. Then he looked towards the front again. Kiro remembered every detail of their walk to that place, even though it was so long ago. He wished he would not remember that. He wished he could forget everything he had seen, but he couldn't. The memories of the stay kept him awake at night. Although this happened 4 years ago, it was still clear in his mind. As much as Kiro loved going to the easy way, he had a feeling there wouldn't be an easy way out of this time. A dreadful feeling that this would be more difficult than last time. It was as if someone was waiting to strike at the right moment to ruin things even further. Alec might have called this the best day of his life. After all the countless nights he had laid awake in his bed thinking about how to ask Aurora on a date, he had finally done it. And to his surprise, she agreed. They had met on many occasions, considering they went to the same school, but this time was different. This day could change their relationship drastically, either positively or negatively. To say that Alec was nervous was an underestimate. He wanted this day to be perfect for Aurora. He really liked her, and sincerely hoped she would return his feelings. He had some ideas regarding where to go, but in the end he decided that going to the Han River would be the best option. The Han River was a special place to him, a place where Aurora and him had shared many memories. It was a place where they would often hang out during their school time. They hadn't been there in a while, both of them still busy adjusting to their new schedules. They both went to the same university now. The two of them met at the beginning of the new semester, and Alec decided that this time, unlike during high school, he should finally get the courage to ask her out. It was funny how their roles were reversed this time. When Aurora joined their school in the middle of the year, Alec had helped her find her way to the new classroom. Back then it was him who had offered to show her around, but this time it was Aurora showing him everything at the university. Alec had joined university a semester later so that he could have time to help out his parents. Alec wouldn't say his family had ever run into financial troubles before. They did not belong to the rich, but they did not have to worry about money either. This completely changed when his brother had gotten into a car accident, falling into a coma. This accident did not only scar them emotionally but also financially. The last 2 years have been really hard on Alec and his parents. It took him a long time to come to terms with the fact that his brother would not wake up anytime soon. It took him a while to actually realize what had happened, but once he had realized and was able to talk to people about it, Aurora had always been there for him. Not only did she support him, but she also supported his family, and Alec was beyond grateful for that. Before his date with Aurora, Alec had gone to visit his brother. This was an important event in Alec's life, and he wanted to share this with his cherished brother. They arrived at the familiar hospital, remembered how he used to hate coming here. He wasn't exactly scared of hospitals, but these places were filled to the brim with pain and suffering. No one ever liked to show they were sick and in pain, and it all felt so fake to him. All these sick people acting like they were fine, that they weren't struggling, all of it was fake. He hated it, but now he had no choice but to come here often if he wanted to visit his brother. He had gotten used to the environment. He sat down beside the hospital bed his brother was laying on. His brother still looked the same as he looked the last time Alec had visited him. Nothing had changed. He was glad that his brother's health hadn't deteriorated again. He was devastated that his brother still hadn't woken up. He should be used to an uneventful visit, but every time he made his way to the hospital, hope would start to build up in his chest. Even though he was always greeted with a disappointment, he took his brother's hands into his, softly caressing it with a smile on his lips. Hey brother, you look like you're in a good mood today. The weather's so nice as well, and even though I was rushing to see you, I didn't feel the heat at all. On days like this, we would have gone to the Han River for some street performances, right? I'm getting nostalgic. But there's something else I have to tell you. I'm taking Aurora on a date to the Han River still. Now you would probably tell me something like, you should have asked her out sooner. I told you she would agree. I really miss hearing your voice. When the time comes, you must wake up. I want to show you everything. I have to go now. But I'll be back tomorrow. See you soon. Back when his brother was not in a coma, Alec used to think talking to a sleeping person would be weird. Every time he had seen it happen on TV, he would just sit there complaining how no one would actually do that in real life. It was like talking to yourself, so when he had to see his brother like that for the first time, he didn't even think about it. He started talking as if it was the most natural thing in the world, and soon he understood why people did it. Even if it didn't seem like they could hear you, you still connected with them this way. He would even say he knew his brother could hear him, and that he was happy hearing Alec talk. Sometimes he would even think he could see his brother thinking about what to answer, but he simply couldn't move. Alec understood that. He would never abandon his brother. Alec left his brother's room with a soft smile. He couldn't wait to tell his brother about how the date went. He had waited for this opportunity for so long. Now seeing Aurora right in front of him with her adorable smile and her beautiful brown curly hair, he could feel his heart speeding up in his chest. He remembered how she used to complain that her hair would never stay in the buns she made during practice. He couldn't help but smile, remembering how he would joke around and play with her hair, saying this way it would never escape the prison of her hair tie. He just loved making her smile, and that's what he had been planning to do today as well. Making her smile, making it another happy day where they could share lovely memories with each other. Alec couldn't be happier. Their date was going well, even though he was worried that just going to the Han River and ordering food would be a lame date idea at the start. But just talking and joking around with her made the day as amazing as it was, or as it should have been. Because even though this was supposed to be the happiest day of his life, the universe had different plans. Alec did not realize what was actually going on. Everything was going well until sirens started blaring and people started screaming. He saw... Laura in general, Zoa exceeding lying got drugs that made her a cat at the end. Well, Naze, we don't get to me yet, so you don't know, and you can't say I'm lying yet. But what you are saying is incorrect. Or yeah, it's incorrect, basically. Thank you. You saw Aurora grasping her head. She looked like she was in a lot of pain and worried. And it worried Alec a lot. Are you all... He began to ask, but before he could finish his sentence, he felt a sharp pain in his head. It was like a burning sensation spreading from the top of his head to every single part of his body. It was unbearable until it suddenly stopped. It took Alec a moment to sort his thoughts before he checked up on Aurora. It was silent, then people started panicking again. All of a sudden, it was at this moment that Alec realized that not everyone had survived this pain. He noticed his surroundings changing. The setting was so familiar with had distorted into something he had never seen before. A world he could not even call a city. It felt like he had been transported into another world, but he knew he had not moved an inch. All his sense went into overdrive. His first instinct was to go to Aurora, holding her shoulders softly as if he could understand through that simple touch if she was okay. But even though it might have not been telling him how she was feeling, he could at least give her a bit of safety with his touch. I'm pretty sure there's something to do with drugs. You can't hide it forever. Well, everything stands in this. That is. So, if you go to the next lore stream, then you maybe learn. The system broke. Aurora said, realizing that what had happened. Her eyes grew wide. Alec, your brother! For the first couple of seconds, he did not even realize why she would ask for his brother, until realization dawned upon him. He understood that the system breaking actually meant. He usually would be thankful and happy about how much Aurora cares about him and his brother, how she was always there for him and taking care of him when all of this had happened. But he did not have the time for that. At the moment, he did not have the time to think about that. All he could think about was his brother. His brother could get hurt? No, he was not allowed to. He was supposed to wake up. He was supposed to see how happy Alec was with Aurora. He was supposed to find happiness again. Alec might call this the worst day of his entire life. After Rune's dream was taken away from him once again, he lived his life following a schedule. Just like he used to. Wake up, eat, go to work, go home, go sleep. The same schedule every single day. But the only way they could meet up was for virtual reality. He knew he did not have to be this way. Kiro, Elric, Edward, Zoa, Aurora, Dawn, Serin, and Damiano, especially Damiano. They were also close too. You could almost say they lived in the same neighborhood. But ever since that day, nothing had been the same. So he was somewhat grateful about just meeting up in virtual reality, because reality would be too awkward at this point. At least he could pretend his life was better virtually. He still cherished the music. Music was his heaven after all. His escape, his one and only relief. When he felt like dying, he would listen to music. Rune was a person others would frown upon. He was not afraid to pick up fights. He was not afraid of dying. He was not afraid of death. People who never lived in poverty would never understand this feeling. He had never imagined death to be like this. A headache with such an intensity that he thought his head would explode, and the burning sensation that spread through his whole body like a rapid fire. He almost laughed at the tears welling up from his eyes. It was pathetic. He knew this was it. He would die, alone just as he always expected. Maybe this was karma getting back at him for all the fights he had taken. It felt like his whole body was burning. He was dying, and the only thing he could think about was Damiano. The first friend he had ever made. The first friend who had stayed. No one ever talked to him in school, but that was mainly because he wouldn't answer them, even when they tried talking to him. Damiano was different. He was with Rune all throughout elementary, middle, and high school. Dami would always come sit next to Rune during every break, whether Rune answered or not. Dami would go on with wait, I gotta remove the bot real quick. I know, anticlimactic. Anyways, I gotta go today. Wait. Anyway, I gotta go. Have a great day. There's drugs. You should really give up on your drug theory, man. Wait. I think I removed it. There's a small mistake. Wait a second. But how are you liking it so far? Are you guys interested? Are you guys invested? I sure hope so. No. Okay, it's fixed. Definitely, I'm in your group with all this. Yay! Okay, what is it? No one ever Damian would go on with his story. Oh wait, whatever Rune answered or not, Damiano would go on with his stories about their classmate, his favorite songs, respected American dancers, and that music team he worked with outside of school. He always topped it with the signature laugh of his, which naturally made Rune laugh. Damiano had all sort of love which was contagious. Out of shyness, Rune started calling him Damino. Damiano still mentioned it to this day. At some point, Rune started eating and spending most of his time with him. It was around that time when Rune also followed Damiano to the hideout for the first time. The place where Rune could dream, the place he felt happy. It was the first time some people accepted him for who he was, regardless of wherever he lived or where his parents were. He felt happy there, but now he was scared. He felt tears running down his cheeks. He was alone, so alone, and he was scared, extremely scared. It shouldn't have been like this. The pain that once burned like fire had faded into ice and numbness. Black filled Rune's vision, and the only thing he could hear was his own heartbeat. His breath came in ragged, shallow gasps. Tears were standing in his cheeks as he tried to remember Damiano's words, telling him that everything would be alright, just like last time, just like when they were children, when he did not even know that he showed he was in pain. Damiano just looked right through him. When Damiano saw he was sad that all the other children ignored and disliked him, Damiano tried to remind Rune about how his friends would love to hang out with him. The memories just naturally filled his mind, as if his brain was trying to take away all the pain he was feeling. Rune was not even trying to take all the pain away. His brain was doing that all by itself. If the pain weren't as horrible, he wouldn't have almost said he did not feel his life leaving his body. Rune finally realized he wanted to be saved. He wanted a rescuing hand to tow him back to life, to the world he knows. He also realized it was far too late for him to be saved. The suffering and the despair this world has caused him, he would finally be able to leave the pain behind. He closed his eyes and gave up fighting the pain. Okay, I can't give you more. This is it for real now. And that was chapter 2. I know they're short. But it's a little teaser. Need link to lure, please send link. I'm going to I don't know how to do it exactly. Because I have saved this as a PDF now. So I would like to re-edit it and upload it then. I want to read it on my own. Yes, sure. But how do I? Where can I upload PDFs? Do I just upload? Wait. There was a link to where I was reading it off. No, I don't think that's it. Let me see if I can find a way. But yeah, what do you guys think happened to everyone? We have already, this is chapter 2 and we already have our first death. What does the book do? Who's the man in white? There's so many questions. But there are questions that I leave in the open. Are you guys wondering about anything? Do you guys have any questions? I mean, obviously I can't answer everything, but maybe I can give you some hints. Let me see. Where could I share a PDF for everyone? It's not completely perfect with the empty lines, empty pages and stuff. So I'd love to just redo it. I like to upgrade it a little so you guys can have like the first version. Does that make sense? Still upload. Oh, I found the page. Something. So I can upload it there. You guys can get like the link of it if I find it. If that actually works. Read lore. So I love the game. Thank you. I'm glad you liked it. Thank you, Azor. Thank you. This is how do I say? I've been mentioned once. Yeah, drop your question. Go ahead. Is its own world and universe timeline. Yes, exactly. So all that's happening at this moment didn't happen in this world I am right now. So, as mentioned in the first chapter, there are multiple dimensions. And what's happening there happened in a different one. I thought that would be connected with another game franchise, like Cuphead and Bendy. Nope, they're not connected to any of that. You can say, oh my god, that's so fancy! Wait guys, look! Look, you can like flip the pages! This is so much. I was looking for something like that. God damn it. Well, you can read it here. Let me. Don't. Okay. Door. Demo. Can you say it like that? This is the demo. And I'll upload it properly. Yes, this looks great, I guess. Yeah, sure. Key. So let me send you the link so you guys can read it. It's not perfect in the what do you say, in the layout, so I gotta work on that a little. Maybe I can just update this link with the proper version so you don't even have to change anything, but I will post on Twitter the good version when I can work through it properly. But yeah, there's no franchise I've been really inspired by for the story. There are a few inspirations I have. That was but you can also, if you know about it, but you probably can notice. So I got big inspiration from 80s and their storyline in their MVs and books. There are a few quotes in it as well, but I kind of built out my world around it. So just so you know, and from the world building, if you can think about it similar to Psychopaths, I guess. I've just noticed a lot of stuff that was similar to it. So I would say you can definitely, like, what do you say, compare it to that. But I don't actually, I only watched season 1 of Psychopath, so I'm not 100% how similar it is. I'm not sure. I imagine the other dimension mentioned could be many other video games, meaning the franchise Rayman, something. Nope, not really. It's not really the same. I mean, the possibilities are open. I haven't explored every dimension, and what I've found out behind the dimensions and everything, there are certain aspects you wouldn't believe are their own dimension. So maybe there's one dimension that I haven't explored that is like that. But I haven't seen them. So yeah. That's all I have to say. I'm so glad you guys were here listening to my lore. It was shorter than my usual streams, but I can't reveal too much, obviously. So I don't know. We could make this a weekly series. Or I wait till more milestones are like reached. I don't know. Are you guys interested in lore? Do you want to hear more about it? Then we can do it more often. So we explore at least the first book about it, because the first book is done. And then we would have to wait till the second book is done, because me and my friend are still working on it. So yeah. I don't know. I'm gonna post on Twitter if you guys are interested in more of it. When I also update the... Hey, I'd love to hear more. Yay! Glad! I'm just really in love with the world, honestly. I really, really like it. So, I will say, I will... ready for more lore? Yeah! Thank you! I'm gonna upload the proper version on Twitter. And then I will also make like a little poll if you are interested for more, or if you want to do it like a weekly thing, or do you want to achieve little milestones for it. Yeah, so that's my plan. Yep, I don't think I have much to say. I'm so glad you guys enjoyed it, but I'm going to leave now. I hope you guys have a good night. I hope you guys enjoy your evening, and I hope you had fun. Good night, everyone.